can't imagine opening my mouth and having such rich, beautiful sound come out. When I was listening to Gigi rehearse earlier this morning, I thought I was having trouble with my hearing technology because I just wasn't picking up the lyrics until she pointed out she was singing in French. I guess I'm going to have to get my cochlear implants reprogrammed. Oh, well, good morning, everybody. I see a lot of you are wearing name tags. We got to get better at that around here. I wore my name tag from last night. Last night, what a night it was. I like my name tag because it's got a big yellow circle on it. Now, I know that told the wait staff what I was dining, but I like to think it's because I'm such a ray of sunshine. Well, as Jeff shared earlier, we are exploring what you might consider a children's story, the story of the Lion King this morning. You know, when the stage play first came out a number of years ago, Leah and I got tickets and we went downtown and took in the show, and it was just amazing. The pageantry, the puppetry, the music, everything about it was earth-shaking, and we just loved it. And a couple of years later, when the touring group brought the Lion King back to the Twin Cities, we were telling my youngest brother and his bride and their 4 kids about it, so we all went downtown to see the Lion King together. That time, our youngest nephew was about 5, and he decided the optimal seating for the show was on my lap. So I'm sitting there at, I don't know, the Orpheum Theater or wherever it was. I'm holding this 5-year-old in my lap, and he's watching this fabulous spectacle unfold before him. And as he's watching, he's leaning further and further forward. I thought he was going to fall on his nose. I had to hang on to him for dear life. The first time we went, I thought it was a wonderful show, a great evening of marvelous entertainment. The second time we went, as I was holding my nephew, trying to save him from bodily harm. As the story unfolded, it came to me, oh my gosh, this is the spiritual journey. It's a metaphysical exploration of what you and I might be going through or have gone through or will go through as we evolve as spiritual beings, having a human experience. Metaphysically, the Lion King has a lot to teach us. And when we look at something metaphysically, we're looking not only at the surface story, we're looking at the deeper story, the deeper meaning that we might find there. And anytime we do metaphysical interpretation, we have to look at the various characters in the story and see what aspect of ourselves that character represents, because they do represent us. And so the story begins. Mufasa and Sarabi welcome baby Simba, and Rafiki, the shaman, blesses the newborn cub. And the cub is presented to the whole of the tribe on the Pride Lands. Life is bountiful, it's joyful, full of promise and hope. Young Simba grows from a tiny cub to a lion youngster. I'm sure there's a term for that, I don't know what it is. And he loves exploring the beautiful land he lives in. He's reveling in the savannah where they all live. His father Mufasa, King Mufasa, as a wise and dutiful parent, carefully and conscientiously teaching Simba what Simba needs to learn, preparing Simba for the day when he will be king. As the story continues to unfold, we meet Nala. Nala is Simba's good friend, his playmate. They have a great time together, tumbling and romping through the savannah, exploring the world they live in. Life is good. They're safe, they're protected, and they're loved. Nala and Simba are often accompanied by Zazu, a feisty, mouthy parrot. Let's stop for a minute and consider who these characters are from a metaphysical perspective. Simba, my friends, is you and me. We are the hero of our own story. You and me, with all of our gifts and our talents, with all of our foibles and mistakes, our learning process as we grow from spiritual infancy to maturity. But in our journey, in our spiritual journey, we have wonderful characters that accompany us. We have a Nala in our life. Nala is intuition. Perhaps you might think of it as feminine intuition. It's that knowing that goes beyond rhyme or reason or rationale. We also have Zazu helping us along the way. Zazu is conscience. Zazu is that mouthy inner guide that tries to keep us on a safe path. Of course, listening to intuition and conscience is a decision we might make daily, if not many times a day. We see this played out in the next scene. Simba decides they're going to explore the elephant graveyard. He's been warned to stay away from it because it's a dangerous place. Nala, as intuition, and Zazu, as conscience, both reiterate all the warnings Simba's been given for years. But in his youthful exuberance, Simba overrides their objections. After all, it really can't be that dangerous. Don't we rationalize that? You know, in yesterday's daily word, we affirmed, I listen to the ideas that come to me from spirit. I recognize inner knowing. And here's the trick. Follow the guidance I receive. Do we always listen to intuition? Do we always pay attention to conscience? Or do we just plow ahead, blithely ignoring those niggling inner urgings because we want to do something that we want to do? So it is with Simba and Nala. They venture into the elephant graveyard, attracted by all of its strange and unusual features, attracted by its very forbiddenness. So focused on their explorations, they fail to realize until it's almost too late they're in danger. The youngsters suddenly find themselves surrounded by hyenas, threatening death and destruction. And Simba realizes he's made a terrible mistake. He should have listened to his father. He should have paid attention to intuition. He should have listened to conscience. He attempts a mighty lion roar, but his attempts are feeble, and the menacing hyenas draw closer and closer. The danger is imminent and palpable. When out of nowhere, Mufasa roars into the scene, literally and figuratively, driving away the hyenas and saving the errant youngsters. Once their safety is assured, Mufasa sternly upbraids Simba for his failure to obey. Duly chastised, Simba sulks off. You know, Simba's not bad. He's inquisitive, he's naive, and that's what got him into trouble. And it was a painful, embarrassing learning experience for him. How often have we followed in Simba's footsteps? Being inquisitive and naive, perhaps ignoring warnings and directives we've gotten. and wind up getting ourselves in trouble. Before long, though, he's his usual curious self, continuing his adventures of discovery in his fascinating world. One day he ventures far afield and he's overtaken by a stampede. Deep in a ravine, the herd is bearing down on him and there is no escape. Simba runs for all he's worth, but the stampede is gaining on him. It looks hopeless. And again, Mufasa appears in the very nick of time to save Simba, snatching him from a sure and brutal death at the very last possible moment. Mufasa pushes Simba to a safe ledge overlooking the canyon, where Scar, Mufasa's brother and Simba's uncle, waits. But having pushed Simba to safety, Mufasa loses his grip and is unable to reach safety himself. Seeing Scar, he pleads, "Help me!" But Scar sinks his claws into Mufasa's paws and announces, "Now I will be king." Mufasa is horrified as he realizes what's happening. His terrifying fall lands him in the canyon and under the deadly hooves of the stampede. As the stampede clears and the dust settles, Simba races to Mufasa. To his horror and his shame, he realizes his father is dead. Scar offers what appears to be comfort. He suggests to Simba that he's killed his own father and he must run far, far away and never return. Of course, Scar has his own agenda, and getting rid of Mufasa and Simba is at the very top of his list, for he wants to be king. You need to stop here for a moment and consider Scar. Who or what is Scar to you and me? Remember, I said all the characters in metaphysical interpretation represent some aspect of ourselves. Scar represents human ego. We touched on that a little bit last week in our lesson. Human ego is that part of us that's totally wrapped up in what we want, totally wrapped up in our success, whatever we perceive that to be, at any cost. Scar, or ego, human ego, wants to be king. Ego wants to rule our life. So ego manipulates us using lies and twisted ideas of who we are and what we've done or haven't done to keep us under ego's thumb so that ego can stay in control. In 100 different ways, ego tells us we are unworthy, we're failures, we're bad, we're undeserving. Sometimes ego even shows up as people in our lives. A parent who says, "Who do you think you are?" Maybe a teacher who suggests, "Oh, you'll never amount to anything." Or a pal, a coworker, a so-called friend who tells us, "Boy, are you ever stupid." Ego loves to create turmoil, to make us doubt ourselves, our value, and our worth. We all have a human ego. It's innate to us. But human ego often leads us far afield from our higher spiritual self. And so it is that at Scar's manipulation, Simba does indeed run far away. He runs from his father's death. He runs from his own guilt and shame, intending never ever to return. He enters a whole new period of his life. the Hakuna Matata times. Here he encounters two somewhat unsavory characters. Abandoning all responsibility, their only goal is to have a good time. Their jaunty song, Hakuna Matata, no worries, is their motto. And so the years pass. Simba grows from a young cub into a young male lion with no real purpose other than to hang out with those two wastrels. His friends aren't bad per se, but they certainly don't inspire Simba to his highest potential. Sometimes it's prudent for us to ask ourselves, does the company I keep inspire my highest potential? Even as they frolic together, somehow, deep inside, Simba knows there's more to life, to his life, than this. In the meantime, back on the savannah, things are not going well. Remember, Ego's in charge. Scar took over. And Scar's only purpose is to please himself at the expense of all else. The Pride Lands fall into desolation. This is classic human ego at work. It doesn't care who's hurt along the way, as long as ego gets what ego wants. Things are looking pretty grim in the savannah under ego, under Scar's rule. But all is not lost. Remember Rafiki, the meditating baboon? Rafiki is the shaman. She's the spiritual leader of these people, but she's been pushed aside by Scar, her sage advice ignored. In other words, spiritually centered life that Rafiki offers has been overshadowed by self-serving human ego. Is that what you see when you look in the mirror? Rafiki, remember, all these characters are an aspect of us. Rafiki is our spiritual self. We may try to push our spiritual self aside, but she is ever present, always striving to bring us spiritual truth. Sometimes we even refer to Rafiki as our Christ nature. You heard that this morning in our daily word. We recognize that she is innate to the spark of divinity in each of us, and that can never be destroyed. Rafiki, despite all odds, persists, holding the high watch, maintaining her spiritual practices. And it comes to her one day that, against all odds, Simba still lives. And she ventures out to find him. Now, if you know the story, you know Rafiki does find Simba. And she informs him of the devastation of the savannah under Uncle Scar, or more accurately, under Ego. Rafiki urges Simba to return to challenge Scar and for Simba to take his rightful place as king. Rafiki's message is a wake-up call to Simba. You ever gotten one of those spiritual wake-up calls? Somewhere deep in the quiet night, that voice comes to you and calls you to be more, calls you to reach higher. But Simba, even as he hears the voice, is overcome by doubts and fears. He ponders his past, his mistakes, and Rafiki Rafiki's message late into the night, seeking higher truth, seeking higher insight. And in his moments of contemplation, his father appears to him. It is a powerful moment, a moving moment, for Mufasa's message is simple, yet profound. He tells Simba, remember who you are. That's the message to you and me. Remember who you are. Simba does remember who he is. He remembers what he was born to be, what his father raised him to be, and he knows he must return to the savannah and fulfill his higher spiritual calling. When we remember, metaphysically, we are listening to our true spiritual self. We remember the truth of our being, that we are gifted, magnificent creations of the Creator, no matter what we may have done. We are powerful and we are called to greatness. For this is our divine birthright. Remember who you are. So Simba returns to the place of his birth, and there he encounters Scar, also known as Ego, and a ferocious battle ensues, each fighting the other to the death. Will Ego prevail, or will Simba, spiritualized Simba, vanquish Ego? The battle shakes the very earth, each one losing ground and then gaining ground, while all in the Pride Lands anxiously await the outcome. Can you relate to this? Have you ever battled within yourself between your higher spiritual calling and your lower human egoic nature? Who will win? Human ego or spiritualized self? With one last mighty move, Scar is vanquished and falls to his death. Simba, his spiritualized self, his Christ nature, has won the battle that day. The challenge is, if the battle we engage in, perhaps every day, several times a day, a few times a week, are we going to listen to human ego? Are we going to follow a spiritually inspired, higher way of living? And it's a choice we get to make again and again. Well, with ego vanquished, at least for the moment, there's great rejoicing as Simba assumes his rightful role of king. His higher spiritual self is stepping in to kingship. He's discovered the spiritual truth about himself. He's embraced his Christ nature. And so he rules wisely, drawing on the hard-won wisdom and insight that he gained from his experiences. We heard about this in the daily word for today. Belief in lack and limitation dissolves as I accept my Christ nature. Divine life revitalizes my body. Divine love harmonizes all my relationships. Divine imagination shows me new possibilities. Divine wisdom and understanding guide all my decisions and actions. Divine faith strengthens my commitment to transformation. Christ awareness transforms my life experience. And if it's true for Simba, it's that much more true for us. As the story draws to a conclusion, Under his wise and benevolent rule, the Pride Lands were restored to beautiful, verdant savanna, and all prosper. The Lion King story, my friend, is our story, and it plays out again and again. Sometimes we ignore intuition and conscience as they try to guide us on those paths of righteousness. Sometimes we fall for egos, lies, and manipulations, believing we're less magnificent, believing we're less than empowered beings. Whatever our errors and foibles, whatever our mistakes, whether inadvertent or even deliberate, we are still at the very core of us, infinite expressions of the infinite Creator. And always, 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 spiritual self, that Christ nature, seeks to bring us around to this truth, to call us to higher ways of understanding, living, and being. Oh, we can ignore spiritual self, push it aside, but there is nothing we can ever do to destroy spiritual self. And spiritual self always, always will eventually prevail. The Lion King dramatically reminds us of the second unity principle, that we all have that spark of divinity within us, that Christ nature, very essence of the divine. And so we are inherently good. As we learn this principle and live from it, we are freed from low self-esteem and lack of self-confidence. We're freed from any idea that suggests we're somehow inherently wrong or sinful. We're free to express the truth of who we are, which, like the Creator, is goodness and love. Now that we understand more deeply the higher spiritual truth of us, as pointed out to us by our good friend Simba, let's revisit today's affirmation. Made in the likeness and image of the Creator, I am wise, empowered, and victorious as I claim my spiritual heritage. Remember who you